Quite often, someone will ask a spiritual teacher, but how do I know if I'm awake? And the teacher will say, are you aware that you're aware right now? And the person will think a bit, but at some point they'll say, yes, I'm aware that I'm aware. And the teacher will reply, well, that's it. That's all enlightenment is, nothing more. And if that's the case, there's clearly no point in searching for anything, because it's already here. What could you possibly be searching for? So in this video, we're going to explore the question, is seeking necessary in any way? And to start off with, I'm going to do this by looking at an analogy. There was a man who lived in the grounds of a massive derelict estate. The mansion had been abandoned for decades. Vines choked the walls, the gardens were overgrown, and the attics and parapets were thick with dust and mould. The man lived in a tiny one-room shed on the edge of the property. The roof leaked, and he slept on a mattress on the floor, and he relied on a little wooden stove just to survive the winter. One day, an old man was walking by the property and asked to speak to the lord of the estate. The man apologized and said that the lord had left decades ago. The stranger looked confused. He stared closely at the man and said, I knew the lord many years ago. Aren't you his son? You look just like him. What's your name? So the man told him, and the stranger was really excited. Yes, you are his son, which means you're the lord too. This entire estate belongs to you. The man laughed. You're crazy. I'm no lord. I'm nothing. I just squat here in the shed. But the old man insisted. If you don't believe me, just find the deed. I remember long ago speaking to your father who told me it was buried in a chest under that old shed in the garden. You can just knock that shed down, dig up the chest, and all of your problems will be over. At first the man was excited, but by the time he got back to the shed it was dark, so he just thought, maybe I'd do it tomorrow. And when he woke up in the morning, somehow some fear and anxiety started to creep in. He was thinking, what if the old man's wrong? If I knock down my shed and find nothing, I'll be homeless. I don't have much, but at least at the moment I have a place to sleep. So he decided instead to see if he could find the deed inside the mansion itself. It took him weeks just to hack through the vines and force the rusted door open. Inside, it was a disaster. Collapsed ceilings, piles of debris, and decades of filth. But little by little, he started work. He repaired the beams, scrubbed away the mold, opened the windows. And as the house became livable, memories returned. He remembered the trauma of being abandoned by his parents as a child, and how the overwhelming weight of maintaining this place had forced him to retreat into the shed just to survive. But over the years spent restoring the house, the man changed. He became fit, strong, and highly capable. The mansion was no longer a terrifying ruin. It was a masterpiece. Finally, the entire estate was fully restored. It was beautiful, safe, and ready to live in. But the man was still frustrated. One day, the old man was walking past, and the man came out to the gate and said, You lied to me. I've searched every inch of this mansion. The deed isn't here. The old man replied, Did you ever check under the shed? I told you it was buried under the shed. The man stopped dead in his tracks. In all the excitement and busyness of the search, he had completely forgotten. But this time, knocking down the shed wasn't scary. He didn't need it anymore. He had a whole mansion ready to live in. So he smashed down the old shed and dug into the earth. And there, just as the old man had said, was the chest. And inside the chest was the deed. He was the owner, and he always had been. So now, after looking at this analogy, we can go back to the original question. And the question is, well, is enlightenment already the case? And as you can see from the analogy, we can compare this to the man being the lord of the mansion. He was the lord of the mansion the whole time, from birth. He didn't need to find the deed, he didn't need to speak to the old man, and he didn't need to clean anything. However, he didn't realize it, and that had consequences. And this is the thing. What we believe has massive consequences. If you think you're a separate self, and if you feel like a separate self, behave like a separate self, essentially, you are a separate self. It doesn't matter if awareness is already awake prior to that. What you believe is going to be the thing that defines your life. And let's say when a teacher tells you that you accept it on an intellectual level. You may even see it for yourself, but understanding it conceptually, doesn't necessarily mean that you feel it on a feeling level. Unless this realization penetrates you right to the core of your nervous system, even though during ideal circumstances you may be able to live that, as soon as there's any kind of stress or difficulty, all of your identity and defenses are going to come back online instantly. So in a sense, there are a number of things going on here. One is an instantaneous recognition of your true nature now. Another part of this is exploring your psychology and exploring your body to allow your body and your mind to relax and open. In the story, this is represented by the cleaning out of the house. By the time the man finishes, he's stronger, he's more capable, and he has a place to live. When I first woke up, I came into my body and it was so conditioned. It was full of tension and pain and all of these difficult emotions. It didn't matter that I was aware. I still had to live in an extremely conditioned body, and it's taken years of hard work to gradually undo that conditioning. So what this means is that theoretically, it may be possible in some cases for someone to have a complete instantaneous awakening that takes no time. But in 99.9% of cases, there's a fluctuation. You get some insight, and this allows you to start exploring yourself more deeply. And as you explore yourself, you're uncovering these unconscious conditioning tendencies, and you're relaxing them. And this relaxing of your system allows you to experience a greater opening and a deeper level of realization. And this is an ongoing process. And in this sense, the seeking is part of the process. Someone who never actually tried to explore most likely would never reach deep levels of realization. But the reason why they're reaching deeper levels of realization isn't because they're seeking. The seeking is exhausting them. And as they become exhausted, they give up. And in the giving up, some part of their identity drops away, and what was already there is revealed. There's a quote from Adida that I like very much. He said, "You can't get to the light without going through the fire." And this is true. You might be able to have a kind of disembodied awakening where you're aware that you're aware. But if you want to have a full embodied awakening, there's no way you can do that without letting this realization penetrate right to the core of your being and right to the core of your body. So the next time you hear a teacher saying that as long as you're aware of now, you're already enlightened, you can know that to some degree this is true, but it's unlikely that just with this kind of an instantaneous intellectual grasp of something like that, that it results in the deepest level of realization. There are level upon level of realization, and as you get deeper, it just gets closer and more intimate. So it's worth to keep on searching and exploring until there's no one left to explore. So I hope you liked the video. If you have any comments, please let me know, and I'll see you next time.